every time we have a discussion about stuff and like in my groups that I belong to on social media, it always, they always don't see the rational things that I say, or it's always like they say that I'm just being like mean or whatever. We got to talking about ICE, and this young lady brought up the subject of this. There was a 2 year old in prison, so I'm like, I was confused because I'm like, why is it that they put a 2 year old in prison? And then she went on to say, well, he's with his parents, but his parents are being deported. So he, is there with him. And they're, they're used to like playing and, and being outside and eating what they want to eat and this and that and the third. So I was like, well, you know what? I said, ICE is a lot better than slavery, whereas his parents came over to this country. We were stolen. We were stolen from our families, and and it was like ranging for. I mean, don't look at roots and think that a whole generation was stolen and came. Your grandma and them, they had an agenda. They were stealing us to make us work for them for free. So if you thinking that they was stealing somebody over the age of 40 to come work for them, they're not. Even if they made it off the boat, they wouldn't. They only had a couple of years to work, and then they couldn't even sell them off because who's wanting them, because they had an agenda. They was going to use us to do hard labor, and that's what they did. So they didn't take one whole tribe and keep them together. No, they separated the tribes so that that our people couldn't communicate to overtake them. They separated the tribes, that because it would have made no sense. They would have defeated the purpose. Then when we got over here, we were made to work, we were starved, we were raped, we were killed, we were lynched, all kind of stuff. I'm not diminishing anything that's going on with ICE, but like I said, going through ICE is a lot better than going through slavery. And it just like baffles me that there was not even there was not even an outcry like there is now about ICE, about concerning slavery. Nobody cared. Matter of fact, people got on board. If they had enough money, they bought your slave too, no matter what nationality it was. If they had the money, they bought you too. So I mean, I'm not saying that we shouldn't like be together and pray for them or whatever, and I send my prayers out that wherever happens, that they still have a blessed life. And then you have the person that I was talking to saying, okay, well, what if Trump sent us back to Africa? I don't know who came up with that narrative, but when we were stolen from our country, they crossed all their T's and dotted all their I's. When they brought us over here, they adopted you. You didn't know it. Our people didn't know it. They put that X on the line, and you were adopted. That's how you became to be known as Massa Jones boy or girl on at plantation number 138. You were adopted. Now it by them being doing an evil act, they didn't realize that when they adopted us, it legitimized us. So he can't send us back. I mean, you have to be a fool to think that, and know your history and not know your history to know that there's no such thing as that, and that never will happen. But when she said, well, they might not get the food that they were used to eating. And I'm like, okay, but they were eating. They were eating. They are eating. We were starved. They only fed us enough just so that we can work. When they sold us and came and snatched us out of these babies out of their mother's arms and all of that kind of stuff, they was riding on horses in the buggy while these kids was walking by them, and half of them passing out from the heat and stuff and falling out and all of that kind of stuff. if they made it to where they were going, and if they didn't, they died on the road. Then wasn't nobody there burying them or crying over them because they mama already cried and she don't know where they went. But it is what it is. So I wasn't saying anything to be cruel, and I'm not cruel in any type of way. I'm just calling it what it is. When I said going through ICE was better than going through slavery, it was to me. It was to me. The people that's being detained by ICE, they came over here voluntarily. We came over here by force. Black people came over here by force, and it was not a pleasant thing. You was beat on them boats. People that was too rough didn't make it over there, was drowned, threw in the water. And the few that made it, they probably wishing right now, wishing when they got over there that they hadn't made it. It was rough. It was really rough. And again, I am not diminishing anything that's happening with ICE, but I'm still crying for our people. So all of it is sad. I just wish that the world had came together about slavery that they're doing about ICE. I do really honestly wish that, because that was a traumatic era for our people, and that's all I was saying, but people fail to realize how bad things were for certain people until it meets them at their door. That now all the things that they doing in ICE is not inhumane as they did to Black people. And we got to just be real about that. And that's all I really had to say about it.